Welcome to a absolutely stunning, amazing. I don't even know how to put this into words. Um, this is a huge announcement today coming from the Trump administration on a couple of things: the price of GLP-1 medications coming down, and the addition of or potential addition of GLP-1 medications, obesity medications. Can y'all see me? Let me know in the chat. We've got huge news today on the potential expanded access of GLP-1s for obesity. We've got news on the lowering of costs of GLP-1s. What does that look like? What does that mean? And right now, I'm just trying to read through about a dozen emails that are coming at me fast and furious. But we're going to bring you the announcement from the White House here this morning. We will hear exactly, as we've been saying, the devil is in the details, and how much will the cost of GLP-1s come down, and will we get that announcement that GLP-1s will finally be covered for obesity for folks on Medicare. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Dave Knapp. This is On the Pen. On the Pen is an obesity medicine news platform. We bring you patient-centric obesity medicine news that empowers you to have more competent and confident conversations with your doctor. And hopefully we're going to get some news today that's going to empower you to learn how to get hopefully GLP-1s for cheaper than what you're paying for now on if you have the obesity indication, and if you are on Medicare. Hopefully we're going to get some news that you'll finally get coverage for the chronic disease of obesity. We've been fighting this fight for a long time, trying to get obesity recognized as the chronic disease that it is, and trying to get all of the institutions of government and medicine along to come alongside us and understand that this is a disease worthy of treatment. And it sounds like we may be getting that today from the White House. And so let's join in here in the next couple of minutes. We should be getting a live stream from the White House, this press briefing that is believed to be centered around the obesity medicine announcements. And we heard Trump say a couple of weeks ago that the fat shot is going to be brought down to $150. So there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. We heard from the Wall Street Journal that the starting dose of Zepbound was going to be at $299. We heard that the starting doses of Wegovy would be offered at $149. So what does that mean for the upper doses? Will we see any movement on those medications in terms of pricing on the upper doses? And so it'll be very interesting to follow. And I'm waiting right alongside you to find out what these announcements are and what they will mean for patients living with obesity. We also heard from the Wall Street Journal the other day that the starting doses of orforglipron may be offered at $149. There's going to be a few things that I think are going to be a little bit challenging to parse out this morning. So when we talk about the price of these medications, we're talking about basically two boats, right? We're talking about Medicare And I would lump into that, Medicaid is sort of downstream of Medicare. So the cost and potential addition of obesity medicine to Medicare, and that will be one conversation. The second conversation that's been happening within the context of most favored nations is essentially the direct to consumer channel, which is something that Eli Lilly started with Lilly Direct back over a year ago, I believe. Lilly Direct was the first of its kind direct to consumer, bypassing sort of this broken system of obesity medicine, and broken system of the payer system, right? Which would be the pharmacy benefit managers that oftentimes gatekeep medications off of their formulary, oftentimes work secret backdoor deals with the pharmaceutical drug manufacturers to essentially offer specific medications to their pool of patients in return for rebates, and this whole system ultimately leads to just an unfortunate system for patients, where patients are boxed out of treatment. Patients are really forced onto medications that they otherwise maybe wouldn't be taking in terms of what their doctor prescribes and what their insurance coverage covers. And so Lilly decided to go around that with Zepbound and offered a program called Lilly Direct, where your doctor could basically send in a prescription directly to the Eli Lilly pharmacies that they had partnered with, and you can cash pay for Zepbound. And the cost currently is $499 for the therapeutic doses, and the starting dose of 2.5 milligrams is 3.9 milligrams. And so, or sorry, what am I saying? 2.5 milligrams, the starter dose, $349 a month is what I'm trying to say. There's so much going on, so much moving in the world of obesity medicine right now. If you're not subscribed over on our Substack, you missed a huge announcement today from Lilly on a different front. Eloralintide, which is their once a week amylin agonist. So if amylin agonist sounds familiar, it's because we talk about that in terms of Novo Nordisk a lot, and their drug that is going to hit the market likely next year, which is CagriSema, which is a combination of cagrilintide and semaglutide, cagrilintide being another amylin agonist. Now, cagrilintide will be the first amylin agonist to hit the market for obesity once it is approved, assuming it will be approved. Listen to this number while we tee this up and sort of wait for the White House press briefing to start. We saw 68-week numbers on cagrilintide. I believe there were 68-week numbers on cagrilintide alone as a standalone therapy, where patients lost around 12% of their body weight over the course of 68 weeks. I believe that was a 68-week trial. Don't quote me on that. Looking at eloralintide, this was a 48-week study. And obviously different doses were tested, but going up to the highest dose, which I want to say was 9 milligrams of eloralintide over 48 weeks, as a standalone therapy, patients lost 20% of their body weight with eloralintide alone. Now, the amazing thing about that is when you think about eloralintide, it's likely to be combined with other anti-obesity agents. In fact, there's a clinical trial that just started recently, back in about mid-October, that Eli Lilly's doing, and they're running a trial that is testing a drug called macupatide. So macupatide is a straight GIP receptor agonist. There's no GLP-1 involved. It's just straight GIP. So that's what macupatide is. And they're combining in this trial macupatide and eloralintide and testing it against a placebo. And so when you think about the fact that eloralintide alone has now demonstrated in these phase 2 trials 20% weight loss on its own, folks, we're really getting to a point with obesity medicine where the whole conversation is going to absolutely shift. So this is amazing in terms of advancements of obesity medicine. And when you think about people with more advanced metabolic disease, this is a hugely encouraging bit of information. So I'm super excited about that Alora Lintide data. That was one of the main things that I was encouraged to see that was going to be released at Obesity Week this year. There's a couple other things that we're keeping our eye on as well, but this was probably the biggest. And so I'm super excited about this data from Eli Lilly today. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Let's see here. I am trying to find whether or not this is going, this press briefing has started anywhere else. Just want to make sure we're not missing it. This is an atypical live for us because typically on these live streams, it's just me and we're talking and we have what we're going to talk about all set up. We're actually waiting on a press briefing to start at the White House, which was scheduled to start at 11 o'clock Eastern. It is now 11:04 Eastern. We know a lot of times these things get delayed a little bit, but to tee up what's happening here is we have an announcement. We believe this announcement will be about the most favored nations executive order, whereby Trump has been working with the pharmaceutical companies to talk about bringing down the cost of prescription drugs in the United States. And we're talking about a direct-to-consumer channel that allows people with cash pay, direct cash pay to get the drugs at a reduced discount. And then we're talking about Medicare and the potential of adding obesity medications to Medicare. Now, this has been an interesting topic of conversation for me because Lilly did this before most favored nations was a thing. Again, they went direct to consumer with Lilly Direct. They dropped the price of Zepbound by 50% in terms of what the list price was versus what they began to offer it through Lilly Direct in terms of a direct cash pay price. And so I always wondered how these negotiations would go because I think from Lilly's perspective, their position was probably, hey, we already did this, right? We didn't do it with the fanfare and the press briefings in the Oval Office like AstraZeneca did and like Pfizer did, but we already did this before it was a thing. And so, will Lilly move down on the prices? Again, the preliminary reports that we got from the Washington Post were. And originally this was Max Bayer from Endpoints, but a little bit more color was added from others along the way. Sounds like $299 was going to be the starting Zepbound dose, and we don't know what the upper doses will be. And then it sounds like $149 for Wegovy, which would be that's where Wegovy should be, in my humble opinion. When you look at the clinical trial data and the superiority of tirzepatide, just in terms of the straight obesity indication and what these drugs can do in terms of lowering percentage of body weight, right? If that's the metric, then it's been very clearly demonstrated over and over again that essentially tirzepatide is a superior medication. And so I think 149 makes sense for Wegovy. Again, the question is, what will the upper doses of these medications be? Let's see here. I'm going to pull up a different feed here. This is a feed, I believe from AP. And so hopefully we'll get this press briefing start. Questions. If anybody has questions, we'll take any questions that you have in the comments. I want to welcome everybody into the live stream today. If you're just joining here, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. My name is Dave Knapp. This is On the Pen. We are an obesity centric, patient centric obesity medicine news platform. We bring you all the news that empowers you to have more competent and confident conversations with your medical providing team. And so if that sounds like something that might be helpful for you in your journey, hit the subscribe button. If you've been around for a while and you have had the benefit of OTP and we have brought you value, let us know what OTP has meant to you and to your journey along the way. We would love to hear from you. Just what this community has meant to you along the way and what the information has meant to you along the way. We know that many people have reached out to us over the last couple of years and told us what a big deal it has been to have information and be armed with information as they go visit their doctor. Hello from Houston, Texas. Appreciate what you do, Dave. Thank you, RE. I appreciate that. Let's see. Meatballs. Good morning, Laura. Good to see you here. Thank you for hanging out with us this morning. Hopefully this will be covered under Medicare. Yes, that's the hope that we see today. Hopefully we're hoping for an announcement that obesity medicine will finally be added to Medicare. Lower compound prices, but will not as lucrative as simple economics means some compounders heavily relying on GLP revenue will go away. I think that's probably fair depending on how this moves, right? Donna has been following Dave for over 3 years. Thank you so much, Donna. Donna is definitely an OG. OTP and Dave has been critical in my personal journey as well as my patients. Thank you, Dave. Really, I love that not only have we been able to make an impact on patients around the country, but on providers like Donna who have patients on these medications, that we're able to empower Donna to give better care to her patients through the information that we share here at On the Pen. Really, really appreciate that, Donna, and I really appreciate all the love and support you've given OTP over the last couple of years. Good morning, Ruben. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Sandy says, hi, Dave. We'd be in the dark without you. Hoping higher doses of ZEP will go way down as well. I'm hoping, but skeptical as to whether we'll see the higher doses move. Just because I think what we saw over the last couple of days is more news come out about orforglipron and the potential for orforglipron to be offered cheap direct to consumer. Again, we're talking about two buckets today. We're talking about Medicare and folks on Medicare and what prices will be for folks on Medicare. And then we're talking about potential changes to the cash pay channels as well. And that's where the most favored nation thing comes in. Will we pay something closer to what they're paying across the pond and over in other countries? I think it's important context to have that over in other countries, it's tiered. The pricing is tiered. So it's not like apples to apples where they're just paying $500 a month for any dose. It's actually like the starter doses are cheaper. And then as you go up in dosage, the drug gets more expensive. So how do you sort of compare that even is kind of challenging. Doesn't Medicare coverage have to be passed in Congress first? So really it's a rule change, right? A rule change. So it could be passed in Congress that would codify it, but you could see action from the legislative branch. We saw some rule changes being proposed at the end of the Biden administration as well that would have given Medicare obesity coverage. So it's a simple rule change that can be done in a number of ways, but the administration certainly has leverage and authority to do that. Obviously, it would be better to have it codified in law over the long term. That's what we've been fighting for with the Treat and Reduce Obesity Act. OTP has been a constant and reliable source of information and education on my 3-year journey now with GLP-1s. Thank you, Shop with Cole. I appreciate that. Jay Neb, our friend from Nebraska, howdy, hoping the lowered price will be sufficient to add to our medical plans. It will be, again, two buckets, right? Medicare and cash pay. That's I think the two buckets that we'll be concerned with today. The insurance channels, I think, are a totally separate conversation. I don't expect that that'll be part of today's conversation necessarily. Hey, Karen, thank you for being here. Is there concern with them being able to keep up with supply if prices are dropped? I don't want shortages to come back. I don't think so. I think that sure there was concern in the conversation as the drug companies were working through this with the administration, and they were actually going through the price negotiations, that was all a consideration, but I'm sure that's all been taken into account, their ability to keep up with capacity. I've been so blessed by your work, brother. I'm a Lilly Direct user, but would be so much better if that price could be less than $4.99. That's what we're hoping for today, Julie. The preliminary reports is that the starting dose will go down by $50. So let's see what happens to the upper doses as well. Donna, aren't you still working full or part time? Are you working part time? Part or full time? How about that? I'm working part time here in my office. Good morning, Dave. Thank you for all you do. Like and subscribe. Yeah, if you could hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, we'll get going here as soon as this press briefing starts. Karen says, hey, everyone. Laura says, we appreciate the information over time. You have been covering this. Yeah, 3 years now. 3 years this month, we've been covering obesity medicine news. And before we were doing it here, nobody else was doing it. Obesity medicine news from the patient perspective was not a thing. And when I endeavored to learn everything I could about these medications, I realized soon that all the information that flows about obesity medicine flows out from one of two sources. It flows out from things like Obesity Week, where folks are down there right now learning about clinical trials. Everything is very clinical. It's designed for doctors and researchers. Or it comes for the investor community, because that's the other community that really cares about the information about these drugs, are the ones that can make a lot of money off of them. And so I found a way to take that information, digest it, and then sort of give it back to you as patients in a way that empowers you to have more competent and confident conversations with your doctor. And to be clear, prices coming down is huge. I agree. That is a big deal. Hopefully, too, need manufacturing sites Lilly is building will help with production. Yeah, Lilly has invested over, I believe, $30 billion, or committed to over $30 billion in investments in infrastructure in the United States, which is amazing. OTP has been a constant source of education and GLP-1 news on my 3-year journey. I'm now on maintenance. Woohoo! Congratulations, Shop with Cole. Holly says, Dave, do we know if lower prices is just for out-of-pocket payers? So, yep. Again, we're talking about 2 buckets today. That's what we expect to hear from the White House today. We expect to hear the price for, if they add it to Medicare, the price for patients on Medicare to get obesity medicine. Again, you can't get obesity medicine through Medicare right now, not for just obesity. There's some backdoor indications like heart failure with preserved ejection fraction for Wegovy. There's also the backdoor indication for Zepbound for sleep apnea, but not for straight obesity. That's what we're hoping to hear today, is that the administration has come to an agreement with these pharmaceutical companies where they'll add obesity coverage to Medicare. So we'll be talking hopefully about that news and what the prices may be. And then we'll be talking about any adjustments that they'll make to the cash pay channel for your everyday Americans who are looking to get these drugs cheaper, right? All of this is sort of going around really what would ultimately have to be an act of legislation to do any sort of meaningful work on PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, which really are one of the main culprits. It is a happy situation for both pharma and the PBMs. Don't get it twisted, but the PBMs are definitely taking a big cut of the cost of pharmaceutical drugs in this country, and that would really take more legislation to address. So this is like things that can be addressed from the legislative branch, the things that the executive branch, rather, the presidency. The president can direct the levers of government to apply pressure on industry. And so when you want to get the industry to the table to lower prices, you just basically say, hey, like, we have the power to make your life easier or make your life miserable. One of the things that they announced over the last couple months was the FDA is allowing a reallocation of their resources to allow fast track drug approvals. And so part of this negotiation, no doubt, had to be, and we've been talking about this for weeks, the fact that the administration was probably dangling a carrot for both Novo and Lilly to get oral Wegovy and oral orforglipron, both oral GLP-1s for obesity, approved quicker. And so they announced that they'll be able to approve drugs within a month to 2 months instead of the 6 months if you have the fast track, or 12 to 18 months if you don't have the fast track. So allowing these drugs to come to market a little bit quicker might be a really positive thing too, and might be part of these negotiations as well. Donna says, I'm working a little, mainly retired now, which is wonderful. It's good to have you here as always, Donna. Just found On the Pen since I started my Zepbound journey a few months ago. I've learned so much. Really appreciate you, Susie. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being the best part of what we do at On the Pen. The announcement was scheduled here for 11 o'clock. It is now 11 o'clock Eastern, is now 11:17 Eastern. We don't have any sort of update yet, but as soon as that press briefing starts, we will have it right here. Let me see if I have any updates in my email. Let's see here. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, I don't have any updates here. We'll keep moving through the chat here. Announcement was set for about 20 minutes ago. So as soon as that starts over here, we'll go to that full time. See here. Debbie makes the point, if Medicare covers insurance, private insurance usually follows. That's typically how it works. This could be interesting. This is a sort of uncharted territory to see how this might pan out here. The direct pay, lower prices are important because if you've lost the weight and you're on maintenance, insurance is not going to cover it because you're not obese anymore. If insurance should cover it for maintenance, but your doctor should be using your starting weight, not your current weight. That is something that oftentimes doctors don't get right when they do the prior authorizations is they don't put in your starting weight. They put in your current weight, which of course you don't, qualify at that point. But the other thing to consider, Lori, in the cash pay is that we've heard reports that orforglipron may have been part of these discussions. And I believe it was reported a couple of days ago that orforglipron would be offered at $149 for the starting doses. We'll have to see if that holds true in today's announcement. But orforglipron is being tested in clinical trials right now for weight maintenance for people who got to their goal weight on tirzepatide or semaglutide. And so that's a really interesting, and they rolled a Surmount trial that actually compared head-to-head semaglutide and tirzepatide into this maintenance study for people with orforglipron. So if orforglipron is available for that $150 price point, and it does work for maintenance for people, that will be a huge deal for people on maintenance. Neo says we're all working fart time. That's funny. Oh yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Some insurance companies do look at the prior 6 months. Welcome, Joss. Good to have you here. I wonder what will happen with pricing with Retta once it comes out and is approved. Retatrutide is going to be one of those indications for more advanced disease. And so I think that it is, it's going to be interesting. I have the same question for sure. When can we expect news on price reduction today? That news was supposed to be coming 20 minutes ago. As soon as it starts, we will go live to that. Our admin knows how to build suspense. That's right. Showmanship, if nothing else, right? Will this affect the price in Canada at all? No, this will not affect it. This is all about the prices in the United States. I'm hopeful compounding will also drop in prices. I think if the prices drop meaningfully here, I don't know that there's any way that they don't put price pressure on compounds as well. Meanball says OTP fan since 3 months ago. I appreciate that, Meanballs. It's a really kind thing from Mean Balls. So kind balls today. Thank you, kind balls. Really pleased for everyone in the U.S. who's going to be benefiting from the lower prices. I think we're stuck with our raised prices in the U.K., but celebrating with you. Thank you, Joss. I really appreciate that. Hopefully over in the U.K., what have you been doing? Have you been just kind of stomaching the higher prices? I know that many people said that they would not stay on Mounjaro once the prices went up for Mounjaro over there. But it seems to me like the general consensus is that people have stayed on Mounjaro because they've seen the benefit. Has anyone else experienced blood clots with Mounjaro? That is not something that I have heard of. GLP-1 journey and review. Do you think compound will go away or lower their prices? So there could be enforcement. There could be some winks and nods. Like, we're never going to get the specifics of these deals. Yesterday on the Novo Nordisk earnings call, they were asked directly about whether or not enforcement on compounds was part of the deal. And it was kind of an indirectly answered questions. They basically said no. But they also said that they aren't at liberty to discuss the details of the deals that were made with the administration for various reasons. And so we don't know. The reality is at every turn, compounds have been tried, Lilly and Novo have tried to litigate against compounds, and it hasn't worked out very well. The reason is when you look at the law, the actual law, the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act has carve-outs for 503A and 503B pharmacies and very specific parameters around which they can compound drugs like tirzepatide and semaglutide. One of them being a patient simply has a need that exceeds something that's commercially available. And so it's going to be very hard for the administration to shut those down Now, could they make their life miserable by choking off imports? Perhaps. There are levers that they can pull to make compounding more challenging, perhaps even more expensive. Those are levers that they have. Will they pull those levers? That is definitely the question. But I don't know that we're going to get an answer to that. If you want my personal opinion, I believe that was probably part of these negotiations. So what that does to compounds ultimately, your guess is as good as mine on that. But I do think that those were part of the conversation here, and it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Novo saying anyone declined by Medicaid will be given free by Novo in December. I did hear something along those lines for Ozempic, but I haven't been able to verify that on my own. No blood clots for me. Has it happened for you? And was it Manjaro or a different underlying cause? I've been fighting Caremark, PSHB, and OPM since July. They are the worst. Holly, have you ever checked out Claimable? We have a partner sponsor of this podcast called Claimable. You can go to getclaimable.com/OTP to learn more about what they do there. But essentially what they do, Holly, is they will take your insurance denial. You upload it into your platform as well as your insurance information, and they help you develop a medical case, a legal case. And that's to stay on the medication and fight back against that claim, because what we've learned from Claimable is that up to 90% of all insurance claims are never fought by patients. And so when 90% of the drugs can just get denied and never fought, it's a real win for the insurance companies. Claimable gives you the tool to help fight that back. So you go to getclaimable.com/OTP and use code OTP10. It's about $40 and you'll save 10%. They have about a 50% track record of getting people back on their medication, their GLP-1 for obesity, right? They have a much higher success rate with other drugs. These are particularly challenging drugs, but 50% ain't bad when you consider for like $35 or so using our code. You got a 50-50 shot at getting your medicine back. So Get Claimable is an amazing company, one of our favorite sponsors, because there's I hear from people every day who are getting back on their GLP-1 because of what Claimable has done. So we love the work they're doing there, and I hope that you'll check them out. Let's see here. I'm kind of lost. If you have questions, put a Q next to it so I can see it. We're just kind of work through this. I filed a claim with Claimable to Caremark. Hopefully it's pending right now. So hopefully it'll pass and they will give me my Zepbound back. That's amazing. Hopefully you get an update, a positive update while we're live here, and you can update us on how that went. So thank you for using Claimable. Did you use code OTP 10? Yes, they did not get enough credit for what they do. I believe they have been in touch with me every single step of the way. Warris is amazing. Y'all check them out. Warris is the CEO of Claimable. He's been on the pen several times, and he's just a good dude. Lily Direct, best buy dates are like to fall of 2026. Very interesting. I see Michael Clanton is in the comments. He dropped a super chat on one of my videos yesterday for like $20. So thank you, Michael, for that. And Dewey, I don't know if Dewey's here. He dropped a big super chat the other day. So thank you as well. I've just been interviewed by Lori explaining there's a chance now I can get on the medication on NHS due to new heart disease diagnosis. Cheering for heart disease. I know I always say in the United States, Josh, I'm thankful to be a type 2 diabetic, right? Fridays was sourcing compound from busted drug sales in Pennsylvania. It seems like there's always some sort of story about different pharmacies that are going around. So I think at one point or another, most pharmacy or most telehealths are going to get caught up in that. That's why, again, when I say, when people ask me what telehealth to work with, I'm like, what pharmacy do they work with? And I know that they probably have others that they work with. So the big one right now is the one where there's actually a recall, and that's ProRx. And we've got a video up on that. I believe we talked about that on the podcast the other day. So if you check out our podcast, you can learn more about that. I feel like I posted somewhere maybe on my Linktree. Oh, in my Linktree. If you use ProRx as a compounder, there was recalls on some of their semaglutide, some of their tirzepatide, and all of the lot numbers I got linked in my Linktree. The easiest way to get to that is you're going to go to otplinks.com. otplinks.com. Ryan said, my insurance was approved as outbound for over a year, and now my employer, self-insured school system, has stopped covering weight loss medications. I still say it's worth trying. Claimable. Anyone know anything about savings card for people grandfathered in under 550 months for pens? So this is another good conversation. I'll be doing some content on this in the next couple of days. When you talk about the savings cards, I feel like all of the stuff that's happening right now had to be ironed out before they could iron out probably the finer details of the savings cards for next year. So I would believe that we will see, I do believe that we will see new savings cards for next year. Whether they'll grandfather that in at 550, I would imagine, because you can go to Lilly Direct right now and pay $4.99 a month for all the doses. Like today, you can go there right now and pay less than that. So do I need a disease to qualify? Yeah, for GLP-1 medications, which treat the disease of obesity. They treat the disease, different ones treat sleep apnea or heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, and type 2 diabetes. So if you have any of those, you'll qualify likely for some level of insurance coverage. If not, there are these manufacturer savings cards that can help you afford those. So definitely talk to your doctor about that. I agree. So sad. A lot of sad stuff going on in the world right now. My wife's insurance is offering Sema and TERS tablets. Is this a thing? So your wife's insurance, if that's interesting. Okay. So there's only currently today, as of right now, this moment today, there's only one tablet available for a GLP-1, and it's called Rybelsus. It's for type 2 diabetes. That is a thing. There are compounded versions of semaglutide and tirzepatide offered in sublinguals. Those are a bit more unproven, right? Because peptides are destroyed by stomach acid. And so they have to do something to protect the peptide to make it bioavailable at all. So if those are being offered, there's just no studies on them. That said, for people who don't tolerate the shots, they may be an option, the compounded versions. Just know that they're not FDA approved. They haven't been tested. And so you're a bit of a guinea pig when it comes to the efficacy and safety and all that, because they're just simply not FDA approved. Let's see here. Still waiting for the press briefing to start. It was scheduled to start about 30 minutes ago. We are a little bit delayed here, and so we're just taking questions from the chat today about all things GLP-1, waiting for this press briefing to start. To sort of recap what we're waiting for today is we're waiting for an announcement on potentially Medicare adding obesity coverage and direct cash pay prices being lowered for the fat shot for GLP-1s for obesity. And so we're waiting for an announcement from the White House. This was scheduled again to start at 11 Eastern. It's now 11:30 Eastern. And so we're just waiting patiently for that to happen and chatting with the community while we wait for that to happen. Of course, I'll do another plug for obesity.news. That's our Substack, where if you were following that today, you would have learned that eloralintide, the once weekly amylin agonist from Eli Lilly, dropped data on their 48-week trial, which showed weight loss at 48 weeks matched about where tirzepatide is at 72 weeks. You heard me right. So a once a week amylin agonist. This is not a GLP-1. It's not an incretin. Amylin is a hormone that's co-secreted in the pancreas with insulin that really helps to reduce appetite. And so weight loss at 48 weeks on a high dose of 9 milligrams was 20%, right up there with tirzepatide. And this will be used likely as an adjunct to other GLP-1 treatments to help increase the weight loss efficacy for people living with, let's call it like more advanced or more chronic, more advanced obesity or more advanced metabolic disease. Dave, do you think they insist we get these meds in the same time period they require for Lilly Direct, that 45 days? I don't know about that question. I think that this will probably come without that stipulation, is my guess. But that's just a guess. I was covered for obesity and then it suddenly stopped. I do pay $4.99 monthly now. I have Medicare and TRICARE. I'm hoping that it will be covered again. So if you have that denial letter, Holly, you can check out getclaimable.com/OTP. They have about a 50% track record of helping patients who lose access to their branded medication get back on them by fighting those insurance denials. So that's where you can check that out, and I hope you do. Claimable, again, it comes up in virtually every live stream that I do because people are always losing access to these medications. Do you think this should change things for people who are on Medicaid and unable to get these medications? Yeah, I think with the expanded Medicare access or potential for that, that hopefully you would see that that expand for through Medicaid as well. So hopefully we'll hear more about that. Ozempic in Saudi Arabia costs around $110. Is that for all doses, or does it start with a low dose and does it go up? Great interview with Low Carb Queen last night for DeBossway. Awesome. Check it out. I'm putting off my walk to hear this announcement firsthand, anxiously waiting. Kelly, maybe it'd be good to walk and listen at the same time. You can burn off some of that nervous energy. If the direct cash pay options are lowered in price, do you anticipate that to be effective immediately? That's a really solid question. I would imagine that the cash pay stuff will probably take effect in the coming weeks. I would say, I don't think anything will happen immediately today, but I would say within the coming weeks. And for sure, I would say like around the start of the year, I wouldn't say any later than that. It's hard to fight the government. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Presidents seem to always be running at least an hour behind. Yes. They probably got a few things going on, right? So the dude wants to know if you're on Medicare right now, have you made your Part D card selection already for 2026? That's a really good question because that's going to be a question that I think a lot of people are going to have in terms of if there is an announcement on Medicare today, will we see, something that happens fast enough for people to choose the right plans? So we'll have to see. 110 for all doses. Wegovy starts at 110 and then moves up to 199. Not too bad. You did not miss it. In fact, it's 35 minutes late in going right now. So you did not miss it. It'd be nice if type 2 diabetics could actually not have to wait for pharmacy to get product in. Too many people using it for weight loss. Not right. I mean, these are indicated for obesity management and type 2 diabetes. Of course, Mounjaro is a type 2 diabetes indication, but you see even CVS Caremark often puts patients who have obesity, they prefer Mounjaro for whatever reason. I think I know why, but we won't get into that today. But they're actually approved for both. So the reason that your pharmacy doesn't keep it in stock is because it's $1,000 for them to buy it and hold stock. And so if somebody doesn't come to pick it up, that's, cash flow for them. And that is probably the reason they don't stock it at your pharmacy. You can always get a mail order too. Ruben said, I used Claimable, but I lost my appeal. The Aetna says they don't cover Zepbound, but work with Wegovy. The insurance also denied my prescription for Wegovy. Interesting. I think at one point, Claimable was doing follow-up appeals for people. Is it possible to switch from Zepbound to Wegovy if it comes out to be cheaper? You just talk to your doctor and absolutely you could definitely do that switch if it's the right thing and your doctor decides that's right for you. Okay, great. Ruben's working with Claimable to reappeal with added information. Love it. A lot of times they see that second appeal be helpful for people. I'm waiting to choose my Part D plan until after this announcement. I have WellCare and I'm choosing to wait for another week or two. Yeah, so let's hear about it today, right? Do any of the GLP-1 pharmacies in the U.S. have installment payment options? Yeah, I believe there are some of the telehealth companies that offer like Klarna or, some of those, they're basically like installment plan things. I've heard a lot of rumblings about other things coming down the pike from other areas too that are sort of along those lines. Wow, some breaking news just this morning is that Novo Nordisk raises its Metsera bid again. So this is interesting because we learned last night that Pfizer met. If you haven't been following this, you can check out our podcast from this week. But Metsera and Pfizer and Novo Nordisk are in a bidding war for Metsera. I believe it's over their oral peptide delivery platform. You look at Novo Nordisk, who paid $2 billion for the SNAC technology to make semaglutide orally bioavailable. I think this has to do with Metsera's Momentum program. But because you also saw Novo Nordisk had danuglipron, which is an oral small molecule. If they want to switch to peptides, they don't have any way to do it. And their small molecule candidate failed. So I believe this is sort of a fight over that Momentum program that Metsera had. If they paid $2 billion for the SNAC technology and Rybelsus, obviously they can see where $10 billion would be a good return on investment. They have to make less API for the peptides to get them orally bioavailable. So they save money there. They just make the drug more effective at lower doses. So I think this is probably why they're fighting over this, but Novo raised their bid again this morning after Pfizer agreed to meet their bid last night. So that's fascinating news. How's the testing going to increase from 15 to 17.5? So the testing, we believe, based upon folks who administer some of these clinical trials, to be 20 and 25 milligrams. That's unofficial, right? But that was what we first reported when people were reaching out. We don't have any data on how that's actually going. We haven't gotten any mid-stage trials, but that trial is set to wrap up around the time that the first retatrutide trial is set to wrap, which I believe is about December of next year. Up for renewal for Zepbound tomorrow. In case I'm denied, this Trump announcement most likely is your plan B. Yeah, the cash pay. Is this a new announcement for Medicare recipients only? So 2 buckets we're talking about today. We're talking about the price of obesity medicine or GLP-1 medications, likely with Lilly and Novo. Here's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the potential of adding obesity medications to Medicare, which is a huge deal. We're talking about folks who are cash pay only. So those are the 2 buckets that we're talking about today in the context for which to set the stage for what I believe that we'll hear today. The Shape says, as always, thanks, Dave, for all your efforts and advocacy. Appreciate it. I'm not expecting you to know this, Dave, but I'm wondering if there are many other examples of meds like Mounjaro and Zepbound. It's the same med and dosage, but different indication and label for FDA purposes. There are. I've looked them up before. It is common, and it's common for them to command different prices for different indications, even though they're essentially the same thing. So believe it or not, right? Lilly stock is up $14.91, which I don't know on a $900 stock, what that equates to percentage wise, maybe a percentage point. So relatively insignificant, but it's not down either. So the markets aren't anticipating that Lilly's going to lose a bunch of money on this deal. So perhaps something we could read into. Thanks, Dave, for the great efforts. I'm the founder of a telehealth startup, No Diet Platform, because focused on obesity treatment, and always happy to watch your streams. Appreciate you supporting the work that we do here. If you're watching on X, please hit the follow button. Follow my X account there. If you're watching on YouTube, these are the 2 places we're streaming today. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button. That helps the work that we do. And then if you want to support the work that we do here, we're full-time. I'm a full-time podcaster and full-time committed to bringing you obesity medicine news from the patient perspective. If you want to support the work that we do, check out otplinks.com for exclusive savings that our partners have offered to the OTP community. otplinks.com is full of all of the different folks who support this stream, but also it's got a bunch of patient resources on it as well. And so be one of the thousands of people who check this out every week. Learn more about what we're doing at otplinks.com. I hope that you'll check that out. Still waiting for this press briefing to start. We're now 42 minutes late. But it's a good thing that we never have a shortage of things to talk about here at On the Pen. I've been taking questions from you all as you have joined into the comments today. So thank you for those who are participating on both the X platform and the YouTube platform. If you're watching on X, please jump over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That really helps the work that we do. YouTube is a great place for us to create content and where we all started. That's where OTP started, was with YouTube content creation. So a special place in our heart definitely has YouTube. So I don't even know how long we've probably been going for a full hour now. Just waiting for this press briefing to start. Going to be a press briefing on the topics of obesity medicine. Hopefully, we're expecting that we may see some sort of announcement on obesity medicine being covered by Medicare potentially. We're hoping to see the direct cash pay price for these medications go down as well. So really appreciate y'all being here. Viagra was a heart medicine. That's right. That's right. Minoxidil is another one that was for the heart. So dead link for X account. Oh, is it? Oh, shoot. Let me see if I can fix that. Questions, I will be happy to take them. We've had a huge week in the news for obesity medicine. We had an Eli Lilly's earnings call and Novo Nordisk earnings call. It's been just one piece of news after another. It's been a wild ride to watch the news unfold this week. So appreciate you being here. Hey, Fit Flavor Fun is in the house. Hey, Allie, how are you today? Good to see you here. Make sure you give Allie a follow over at Fit Flavor Fun. I'm thinking about asking my doctor for metformin or phentermine. They're not GLPs, but they're supposed to do the same thing for cheaper. I mean, the same thing in a sense that phentermine has an indication for obesity when it's combined with, I believe, topiramate to make the drug. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's not Contrave, but the other one. Shoot, I'm not going to remember it. Somebody in the chat will help pick me up. But you know, the weight loss with that is, you know, less than 10% on average. And you're also taking something with some, you know, if you have heart issues that you should be definitely aware of, you know, the potential there. But it is something that's often used by different clinicians to stack with GLP-1s to help improve GLP-1 efficacy. So let's see here. I'm trying to fix the YouTube link here on X. See, I think on X you can go to my link tree actually. If you just go to my link tree that's linked there, then you should be able to get to our YouTube channel. Or just search On the Pin on YouTube. Easiest way to do it. Kelly says today's shot day. That's amazing. The deal could make drugs available for as little as $149 a month and expand coverage under Medicare and Medicaid. That is definitely the headlines going into today. Trulicity, we'll have to see if we get any announcements on Trulicity or some of the older GLP-1s. We'll have to see. Cagrilintide might need a phase 4 still. Did you see the news today, Michael, on loralintide? If not, check out my Substack from today. Crazy stuff. So something funny happened when I went live here this morning. Let's see here. I'm just going to add this. Something funny happened. So usually it tells me how many people are in the live, how long we've been live. And this has a countdown now to 2 minutes. And so I hope this isn't going to end my live stream. If it does, we'll pick it right back up. Just make sure to join us. We are now 47 minutes into waiting for this press briefing to start that was supposed to start at 11 Eastern on the topic of obesity medicine, the potential of adding obesity medicine to Medicare, and the potential to lower the direct consumer cash pay price for these medications. We'll have to see how that all pans out, but we will see this hopefully soon, hopefully very soon. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do at On the Pen. If you're new to On the Pen, please hit the subscribe button. We are an obesity medicine news patient perspective. Let's see here. Just catching up with the chat here. Sorry, I'm getting so many emails. So I've been invited to take place in a press briefing with Eli Lilly later today, and so I've gotten some correspondence, and I do have some information, but it's all under embargo. I can't share it. I can't share any of it until this thing starts. So hopefully this will start soon. But I'm getting text messages from people who are in private events with Lilly and are saying that that the price has been announced in there. So you may find it somewhere else, but I feel obligated to keep this on the DL here for now. Welcome. Thank you for joining here. We're waiting for the press briefing to start. Hopefully we get that soon. You think this is coming from drug companies who are communicating internally first? I imagine that communication has had it's made its way around there. I think this is probably more on the administration side. See, the dude has been a member for 33 months. That's amazing. 250, 350. We'll have to see. This is a common question. Do I think that the drugs price drop will put us back in shortage? I think that that's all been baked into the cake here. So whatever we see today, I think we'll see baked into the cake for sure. Whoa. Mimi, our friend Mimi from Australia is announcing that there's been an abrupt end to her clinical trial for retatrutide. I don't know yet whether that's because she has dropped out because maybe she lost too much weight, or if they ended the trial. She went in to have a routine 88-week clinical trial visit. Her trial was supposed to be 104 weeks long or 2 years long. And when she arrived for her usual visit, they told her that the manufacturer has decided to cut the trial short, and they've cut it back to 80 weeks. So anyone who was at 80 weeks or beyond was going to be immediately cut off and with no more supply of medication. And that I needed to have a large lot of blood tests done, a lot of urine blood pressure measured, weight, lots of surveys. So they cut the retatrutide trial short. Could it be that they are potentially looking at a faster to cut these trials short, to get approval faster. Could retatrutide have quietly been part of these conversations too? That is stunning. Mimi, of course, was in a retatrutide trial. I believe it was for heart disease. So, wow, breaking news. Eli Lilly seems to, according to our friend Mimi, who is in the retatrutide trial, and they cut the trial short. Was supposed to last an additional few months, and it will not be lasting that time. They're going to cut it off at 80 weeks, which is a longer clinical trial. So does that mean we get data sooner? And does that mean that maybe the administration and I mean, this could all be tied into this, because ultimately, does that mean that Lilly has been working to get retatrutide fast track approved through these most favored nations conversations? That could be some of the biggest news yet. But of course, my heart goes out to Mimi, who is probably feeling a little bit like, what options does she have now? Retatrutide got her down to her goal weight. She thought she had several months left on the clinical trial. Now she doesn't. So how is she going to? Oh, poor Mimi. I hate that for her. Man, that's brutal. Yeah, so Retta saving money on the trial and will release early 2026. We will have to see, but could a quicker approval of retatrutide been part of these conversations with the administration for fast track approval? That would be a mind-blowing piece of news. In fact, that may be the biggest news to come out of today, if that is part of it. We'll have to see. But we're 55 minutes waiting. Maybe they meant 11 Central Time, right? So that would be 5 minutes from now. But 11 Eastern is when this was scheduled for. So thoughts and prayers go out to our friend Mimi, who has announced that her retatrutide trial has abruptly ended at 80 weeks. 88 weeks is how far along she was in that trial, expecting to go 102 weeks or was it 104 weeks? It was 104 weeks, maybe 2 years. Ending that trial early, maybe taking the data from that trial to get a quicker approval. So very interesting. Yeah, for perhaps semaglutide for maintenance. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Retta to Sema would be quite an adjustment for sure. But Mimi was on at one point Ozempic, I believe, and so she knows at least how she's going to handle it, I would think. Yeah, retatrutide definitely won't be out in 2026, apart from something dramatic like that happening, because the first clinical trial wasn't set to end to the middle end of next year, I believe. So does a change with Medicare covering obesity drugs have to go through Congress? It can, but it's a rule. It's a rule that can be changed by just a different interpretation of the law. And so that was always an option, but the Treat and Reduce Obesity Act was set to be an act of legislation that would have codified that. We'd still love to see it codified, but the administration does have the latitude to just open it up. So that seems to be the direction based upon preliminary reports about where this is headed. So yeah, if you would hit the thumbs up button, like, save, share, send to a friend. If you're not following along here at On the Pen, you following along really helps to it's just an easy form of advocacy at the end of the day. Honestly, it helps to get the word out about what we're doing here at On the Pen. And it really helps us. We're doing this full time now, and I can't do it without your support. And the easiest way to support is just to subscribe. And then you can go to obesity.news and put your email in and get emails from us too. Hey, Joe Azuki is here. Excited to see what is announced today. Perhaps we can do another podcast together and discuss the details at some point. That'd be great. Joining late here, any word through the grapevine on the effects of compounding with this announcement? Rumors are that the administration will limit compounding to soften the margin blow. They don't really have the power to limit compounding other than to make their life miserable, because their ability to compound is baked within the law. Every time that Lilly and Novo have gone to try to shut down compounding, hasn't worked well. And I think that's because you look at the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which actually gives latitude for 503A and 503Bs under certain parameters to compound. It's going to be very hard to go against the way the law is written. Now, could they use levers of government to make it miserable for compounders? Yeah, they could. And is that part of these conversations? I think it probably is. But will we actually know ever? We won't until we see those hammers start to drop, if they do. And it just becomes a question of how difficult do they make it for compounders? These things would have to come down to a very low price, I think, to make compounding irrelevant. First time tuning into your Twitter. Hi, are you a believer in the Novo stock? My personal opinion about the Novo stock is that it is one of the most undervalued stocks. I can't believe how undervalued it is personally. What we see with GLP-1 agonism, and I think what we'll continue to see, we're seeing with preclinical models, and what we've even seen some evidence for in clinical trials, like the SELECT trial, is that there seems to be something cardiac protective about the GLP-1 mimicking molecules specifically, something specifically cardiac protective that doesn't seem to extrapolate out to GIP in the same way. Now, GIP seems to really be beneficial for weight loss. If you have a stronger weight loss effect, like you do with tirzepatide over Wegovy, then certainly you have different markers that change, like that are cardiac markers, like cholesterol, triglycerides, blood pressure, et cetera. But what we've seen in preclinical models is that GLP-1 receptor agonism, especially in the hearts of rodents that had a heart attack induced, were actually cardiac protective in that it opened the parasites on the cells of the heart to allow blood flow to be restored to areas of the heart that otherwise would have been blocked off, right? So they actually did a second cohort where they blocked the GLP-1 receptors, and that part of the heart didn't get the blood flow restored. And so they've seen it in preclinical models, but the SELECT trial seemed to show us that there was cardiac benefit and a reduction in all-cause mortality, regardless of the dose that you were on, and regardless of how much weight that you lost in the SELECT trials, you still had a reduction in all-cause mortality. So it seems like there might be something specifically cardiac protective about GLP-1. And semaglutide to date is the strongest GLP-1 receptor agonist. And so I think they really have something going there. And the fact that they are undervalued. If they're able to get this thing done with Metsera too, they would acquire the Momentum platform. The Momentum platform is a oral peptide delivery system that I think would be massive for them. When you talk about scalability of these drugs and manufacturing, that would be a huge one. Dave, will you be posting the briefing after it airs? I have a work meeting and have feeling that it's at this rate you're going to miss it. It'll be right here on the YouTube channel. This video will be up. I'll also do probably an email blast later on today. I've got a family funeral visitation this evening that it's out of town, and a funeral tomorrow. So all of that's going to play into what I'm able to get to, but hopefully we'll get something out on Substack as well, for sure. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's see if we get this. Let me know if you get the audio.
200%, 300%, 500%, 700%, a little bit more than that. So today I'm thrilled to announce that the two world's largest pharmaceutical manufacturers, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, have agreed to offer their most popular GLP-1 weight loss drug. I call it the fat drug, remember? At drastic, a very effective drug. So far, I've never heard anything bad about them. I only hear good about them. It's pretty. Is there anything bad about them, Bob? Yeah, I haven't heard anything bad. Someday maybe it'll come out, which will notify you immediately. But so far, I haven't heard that, including the drugs known as Zepbound and Wegovy, often called Ozempic. This is a triumph for American patients that will save lives and improve the health of millions and millions of Americans. Amazing thing. They are amazing. I want to thank Eli Lilly CEO David Ricks, a friend of mine. We've worked long and hard. He and I got this whole thing started in a way. And Novo Nordisk CEO Mike Dustar for joining us today. Great, talented people. They make a lot of money. I looked at the money, but they're entitled to the money because the companies have done very well. Along with Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary Howard Lutnick. Do you take any of this stuff, Howard?
Not yet.
Okay, good. CMS Administrator Mehmet Oz, he doesn't take it. Food and Drug Administrator. Commissioner Marty McCary and Director of Medicare Chris Plump. And we have Steve, where's Steve? Is he here? Head of Public Relations for the White House. He's taking it. The United States is just 4% of the world's population and consumes only 13% of all prescription drugs, yet pharmaceutical companies make 75% of their profits from their American customer. I would say that's not so good, right? It's not exactly great. To address this chronic unfairness, I signed an executive order earlier this year instructing my administration to do everything in our power to implement most favored nations drug pricing, something that has been helped greatly by tariffs, because when nations refuse to do it, we should have put this in the case yesterday. I just say, well, if you're not going to do it, we're going to charge you a like amount of tariffs. And they immediately say, we'll do it, which means that Americans should pay no more than the lowest price offered anywhere in the world. So that you've heard for years the disparity where you'll pay $150 for a pill in New York and you'll pay $10 for a pill in London. Now you're going to pay $20 both, because the world is a little bit bigger than the US, so it goes up that way, but you'll pay $20 and $20. A tremendous advantage to our country after years of being abused by the world system. Already Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and EMD, Serrano, have agreed to drastically lower their prices for American patients. And today, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are joining the phenomenal list of the most exciting announcements. I mean, nobody's ever had announcements like, and this has to do with other pharmaceutical products also. But we're covering this today because it's such a big seller. I guess it's the number one selling thing there is today. These are two companies that behind the groundbreaking weight loss drugs that have helped millions of Americans struggling with obesity live better, longer lives, everything else. These are the two companies that really broke ground. Until now, neither of these two by Medicare for weight loss, and they've only rarely been covered by Medicaid. They've often cost consumers more than $1,000 per month, and some a lot more than that. Americans have been spending as much as 520% more for Zepbound and 1,400% more for Wegovy than patients in Europe. Think of that. 1,400% more than a patient in Europe for the exact same box. And that ends starting today. The other countries are not happy with us. I don't think they like me too much, Bobby, but that's okay. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are committing to offer Zepbound and Wegovy at most favored nations rates for American patients. This will slash the cost of Wegovy from $1,350 a month to ultimately $250 a month. $1,350 to $250. Did I do a good job? They don't write about it. They like to not write these things. And reduce, you think Biden could have done this? I don't think so. And reduce the monthly cost of Zepbound from $1,080 to $346. In addition, they're both committing that future GLP-1 weight loss drugs taken orally, which are currently under development, will be sold at no more than $149 per month. It's a massive, think of that. You go from $1,300 to $149 a month. We anticipate these new versions will be coming out in a very short period of time. All of these drugs will be available directly to the consumer at trumprx.gov. Trump, they want to use my name. Trump, it better be good. trumprx.gov. And I think it's turning out to be pretty amazing, right, us? Just as significantly, Medicare and Medicaid will finally cover the cost of these weight loss drugs for millions of patients suffering from obesity. Co-pays for Medicare patients will be as low as $50. This is tremendous savings. I mean, now you're talking about from $1,350 to $50. This is tremendous news for the American seniors. And you all remember what I had 1/8 of 1% for the year. I got it 1/8 of, and I was so thrilled. But now we're cutting it 1,000%, 1,200%. Nobody's ever said anything like this. Nobody else could have done it, but I say that modestly. In addition, you think it was easy dealing with these people? It wasn't. You think it was easy saying your drug, Mr. Eli Lilly, that we're selling for $1,300 is going to be sold for $250. The amazing thing, the stocks all went up. I mean, these guys they're fantastic because it's going to equalize the world. The world's a bigger place and it's going to equalize. I was a little surprised to see that, but I'm happy about it. In addition, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk have agreed to provide all of their other medications to Medicaid at most favored nations prices. Most favored nations, meaning that you will pay the lowest price anywhere in the world. That's what you're going to pay. Whereas before they paid low prices and we paid, thousands of percentile ahead more. And to sell these drugs to all consumers at deeply discounted prices via trumprx.com. When is trumprx.com opening?
The site is open. It will launch in terms of giving people prices before the end of the year.
Okay, got to make sure it's successful. It's got my name on it. I don't want to be like so many others. I don't want to be like the train they're building in California, okay, which has about 15,000% cost overrun. Or the beautiful Obama building that he's building in Chicago for the museum, which is now shuttered up and dead. They got it up and they couldn't finish. It's about, would you say, 5 years behind schedule and about 2,000% over budget. Then he tells us how to run Medicaid. Many of the most widely used drugs will be available for 60% off or even more than that. In addition, all new medications introduced by Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to the American market will be sold at the heavily reduced most favored nations price. Most favored nations price, that's the best, because they have been thousands of percent lower than what we were selling in many cases. Furthermore, Eli Lilly is investing $27 billion. That's all. And Novo Nordisk will invest $10 billion. That's all. That's peanuts. In the United States to reshore and do a big domestic manufacturing job in the facilities they're going to spend. So Eli Lilly spent $27 billion. Novo is spending $10 billion in the United States. So they're building new plant and equipment. That's part of what will be $20 or $21 trillion this year. There's never been anything like it. I know nobody talks about it, but there's never been anything like, I would say, you would say, that there's never been anything like this ever, whether it's China or Europe, or you could take all of Europe. There's never been anything like this. So we're already past 17 trillion. We're going to be, I think by the time the year closes out, we'll have investments of over $21 trillion based on the way we're going. And by the way, tariffs are very important. Without tariffs, perhaps it could be a little bit different, to put it mildly. Tariffs are so important. The decision in the Supreme Court would be devastating to our country if we got a negative, devastating if we got a negative decision. But this is a great day for American health and healthcare and for all of American patients. These are things that are miracles to have this happen. And they're, we're bringing all our medicines, again, because of tariffs, we're bringing all our medicines. If you remember where during COVID, we made almost no medicine here. We had to go to China, we had to go to Ireland, we had to go to other places, UK, to get our medicine. We didn't make it here. Now we're making it, we'll soon be making it all here, again, because of tariffs. And my election, but because of tariffs much more. For years, politicians have talked about making healthcare affordable, but my administration is actually doing it. Americans deserve the best healthcare in the world, and we're now getting the best healthcare at the lowest price. So I'd like to ask somebody who's doing a fantastic job, Secretary Kennedy, to say a few words, followed by Dr. Roz, Dr. Klopp, and then Eli Lilly, CEO David Ricks, and Novo Nordisk CEO Mike Dustar. These are incredible stars in that business. Like Dustar is a big star. And I can tell you that David Ricks is one of the hottest people in the world in business, but the business that he's in is pharmaceutical. And the job he's done with Eli Lilly is incredible. Both of these gentlemen, they really are stars in the truest sense. And it's an honor to have you in the White House, and go to it, Bobby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by thanking you, Mr. President, for declaring war on chronic disease in this country. This is something no American president has ever done. If we want to solve the chronic disease crisis, we have to tackle it, obesity. Obesity is the #1 driver of chronic disease. 50% of our adult population are obese or overweight. And it drives about 50% of healthcare costs in this country. Diabetes, cardiac diseases, we are going to see a decline because of this historic agreement. We're going to see a decline in costs, but also more importantly, in the afflictions themselves. There are, President Trump is the friend of the forgotten American. Obesity is a disease of poverty, overwhelmingly. And these drugs have only been available for people who have wealth. At one point, the majority of prescriptions, the highest concentration of prescriptions in this country was the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And what about the people who live in rural areas, who live in food deserts? What about the people in urban areas who live in food deserts and are suffering from obesity and are locked into that system where they can only get ultra-processed foods, which are aggravating the problem? This will be a lifesaver to them. It's not a panacea. It's not a silver bullet. President Trump has also instructed us to address and end the root causes of chronic disease. And we're doing that. We're about to release dietary guidelines that are going to change the food culture in this country. They're going to change the kind of food the military gets. They're going to change the kind of food that our children get. We're releasing those in December. The Presidential Council for Physical Fitness is going to get more Americans into, particularly our children, into physical activity so that we can attack the root causes of this. But in the meantime, there's nothing more important than we can do than lower this price. As I said, it is the #1 cost of all drugs. This is the biggest drug in our country. That's why this is the most important of all the MFN announcements we've made. This is going to have the biggest impact on the American people. All Americans, even those who are not on Medicaid and Medicare, are going to be able to get the same price for their drugs. for their GLP drugs. This happened because of the vision of David Ricks, of Mike Dustar, and the other people and the people on our team who figured out a way to align the interests of the shareholders of their company with the health of the American public. And it is a momentous accomplishment. It took months and months of negotiations. And I had a wonderful conversation with Mike Dustar about his experience. And he thanked me for the caliber of people who are on our side of the negotiating team. Chris Klump walked away from $1 billion business in order to join this administration. Emma Hernandez, David Brooks, and of course, Dr. Oz and Marty McCary, who made this happen. They saw that this could be a win-win situation, that this was not a zero-sum game. The Biden administration tried to solve this problem unsuccessfully, I might add, by throwing $40 billion at it. And they were able to achieve an agreement that will actually create savings for the American public. So we're making all of this available at a savings, and that's because the price of diabetes prescriptions is also going to drop. And the savings that we get from that are now going to make it available to people who do not have diabetes, people who have a BMI of 27 and above, or pre-diabetic, or have heart disease risk. They will be able to get it, but everybody will be able to get this drug, and it's going to change. We will lose, the American public, because of this agreement, will lose 125 million pounds by this time next year. So it is going to have dramatic effects on human health in this country. And I want to thank President Trump for his leadership. He said that I'd gotten a lot done as HHS secretary, but almost none of that is due to my ability. It's because I'm surrounded by people who are smarter than me, who are more able than me. And those people came into the administration because they were inspired by President Trump. People like Chris Klump are here because they see this.
Do you think they are smarter than you and
Yeah.
more able? No.
Believe me, they're a lot smarter than I am.
Why did you take that job? He doesn't really mean that he's being modest, I promise you, but.
It is true, unfortunately.
It's a beautiful thing.
But I want to thank you, Mr. President, because you've made me a success here by allowing me to attract these extraordinary people. And I want to again thank David Ricks, who we've been in this Oval Office again and again. You keep saying he's the smartest guy in industry, that he could talk a dog off a meat truck. But it came to the table, and Mike Newstar told me, he said,
you convinced people for 20 years that it was okay for Europe to pay $10 and for America to pay $140. That's why they make 45-50 million a year. We did. Finally, I said, I've had it, right?
You did.
He did. But anybody can do that, and they're entitled. But now it's down to what it should be.
and Mike Dusar told me what a pleasure it was to negotiate with people who were smart, who had common sense, who were able to put themselves in his position and hammer out this deal that is good for everybody. And it's great for the American public. I want to close again by just saying that this is a tool in the toolkit. It is not a silver bullet. It is an arrow in our quiver. It will allow a lot of people who are locked into high-risk obesity to finally lose weight, to reset, and then start doing the kind of things that will address the root causes of obesity. So I want to thank these extraordinary CEOs for sticking with us on this, for allowing us to make this happen. Mike Dustar said to me, he said, we've known we've had to do this for many years. We just haven't been able to get over the edge, and that this President Trump's order, his executive order, was a catalyst to do something that we always knew needed to be done. So again, thank you for your vision, for your commitment, and thank you to all the CEOs and all of my team are making this historic agreement happen.
Bobby, you haven't changed your view on Tylenol for women that are pregnant?
No, as I said,
Because there were some false reports out about Tylenol that Bobby changed his view. I don't think he's changed.
I'm not going to change until the science changes, and the science does not look like it's changing. It's getting stronger and stronger. Every day, what we recommend is that pregnant mothers, talk to their physicians, that the mothers of small kids talk to their physicians, and we've advised.
So just as they're talking off topic for a minute. This is a huge moment. I want to let you all know, hit the subscribe button if you're just tuning in, but we will have context for all of these statements as soon as they're done speaking here.
Make itself clear that the real stake here is the forgotten man. President Trump, I believe you won the election because you remember the forgotten man. You speak to them, they hear you, they listen to you, and he connects well because he actually does things that materially change their lives. Secretary Kennedy spoke passionately, as he always does, about the problems with obesity. And just to put some very fine point numbers on this, obesity itself is responsible for half of all chronic disease and definitely generates more than a quarter of all the money we spend out of CMS, the $1.75 trillion that we spend annually. We need to address this tempest of dramatically increasing prices for healthcare. And you're not going to do it just by throwing money at the problem. You have to actually literally deal with the causes of the increase in price. And pharmaceutical prices are a part of that. They've been a part of it for a long time, but this president insisted that we address it. In fact, the first time I heard this directly from you, sir, was in January at Mar-a-Lago, where he took Secretary Kennedy, myself, Mr. Ricks, who you'll hear from in a second, to dinner and demanded explanations for most favored nation pricing and what's wrong with it. And there was not a good reason against it. Now, MAHA is critical. America will have to get fit in order to right-size the healthcare system, and MAHA has the answers. It has obesity management through diet and exercise and sleep and dealing with issues related to that. And I want to say it as clear as I can, obesity is not an absence of GLP-1 drugs. We're all clear on that. But as Secretary Kennedy said, it is an arrow in our quiver that we must use and should use. The MAHA movement means making it easier for the right things to happen, easier for you to be healthy. If you're sitting at home and watching, that's what MAHA means to me. Reducing costs of the number one most expensive medicine category in our country for Americans does just that. It is as MAHA as it gets. Today's the fourth MFN. President Trump highlighted the first three. Leading U.S. company, leading European company. We've dropped in fertility drugs, so we'll make lots of Trump babies, I'm hoping, by the midterms. But it's really about fairness. Fundamentally, it's fairness in pricing to Americans who have been getting ripped off, paying 3 times more than their European counterparts for the exact same product made in the same factory, in the same bottle, in the same packaging. We shouldn't be paying 3 times more, and we are no longer doing that. Fairness to the forgotten man also means dealing with the reality that they can afford a life-saving, life-changing drug that 10% or more of affluent Americans take, but folks without means can't manage it. Secretary Kennedy mentioned New York City. It actually, the number one zip code is the Upper East Side, which is where you have property. And folks who know ritzy areas buy important real estate there because those real estate properties are worth a lot there. That should not be the number one zip code in America for purchasing GLP-1 drugs. It speaks to the fact that we have an innately unfair system that penalizes folks who can use these medications the most, folks in the Rust Belt. Now, what are you supposed to do if the right thing to do for your health is right there, but you can't afford to get it? Folks need to be able to utilize these life-saving medications, and being fair about its distribution is essential. And we are democratizing access to these medications and dealing with a moral imperative to make sure that all Americans have access to avoiding all the obesity-related complications by making sure they can afford, if they do things right, not just MAHA-appropriate interventions, but also medications like this. In fact, we think these deals, and this part's very important, we believe these deals within 2 years, by the time the ink dries on these contracts that were signed earlier today, within 2 years, based on our health improvements, we will be budget neutral. These drugs will not cost us money. The American taxpayers will be getting their money back. That's how important it is for us to reduce the cost of healthcare in this country, especially when it's due to preventable problems like obesity. In addition, we have an update, Secretary Kennedy. We thought it was 125 million pounds. Mr. President, our estimate, based on the company numbers as well, is Americans will lose 135 billion pounds by the midterms. but I don't measure it in pounds. I measure it in saved lives. People can sleep again because they can breathe as when they go to bed. Folks whose knees don't hurt. People who don't have heart attacks, renal failure, dementia, all the things we know are associated with obesity and much more. This wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the right tools and had the ability with a team that has been spoken of early. So I want to call out Abe Sutton. He's in the back right there. He leads the CMS Innovation Center, made the deal possible. And they are announcing today a new model, a brand new model aimed at getting to the vulnerable populations amongst us these medications. The forgotten man will be able to afford these drugs now. Governors will be thanking President Trump. They should be calling directly, sir, because they're going to be able to afford Medicaid next year in ways unimaginable, and they will stop crowding out education and other civil services. We cannot be a wealthy nation without being a healthy nation. That's why today's MFN deal is a historic step forward for all of America. And this is something that I don't think is partisan. There is no way you can argue against what just happened. These numbers to my side here, that's just Administrator McCary, who's been instrumental in this process as well. $1,350 baseline. Chris Klump will go through the numbers, but just focus on that 245, which is what he's going to point you to. And Chris Klump has been an unbelievable leader, an innovator you've heard his name before. He's spoken here before, but he is continuing to change the face of CMS. And I love the fact that with his leadership, we're bringing a lot of wonderful people in. Inma Hernandez has been mentioned, John Brooks as well, and many others, including Beth Kelly, who runs the legal issues around these issues, because these guys are barracudas, Mr. President. They will take you down, slice you in little bits. And that Howard's been there. It's no longer happening. You've got sharp folks. We're open for business. It's a generational opportunity to serve, and people are showing up. God bless you. Let me introduce now Chris Klump, who is just makes my life easier every day. I'm so proud of him.
All great deals are rooted in principles. We've talked about this before, and today we're announcing another truly great deal. I love this deal, and it's rooted in the principle of potential. This is about unlocking the full potential of every American, the grandmother, the grandfather, the father, the son, by unlocking access to affordable life-saving medications that make a meaningful difference in their lives when they need them most. That's what today delivers. It's a deal built on principle for people, for the American people, and backed by policy that works. So the most important step to getting healthy is believing that your life has value, that God meant for each of us to have purpose and joy and to live fully. And to do that, we must be good stewards of our body. And the president has been fighting to provide another tool to do just this and enable this. And it's my pleasure to get to outline the contours of the deal today. So first and foremost, customary with the three prior announcements, all of the customary most favored nation terms that you've grown familiar with apply to these two deals. So this is actually deals 4 and 5. Full Medicaid portfolios today at most favored nation prices. Shared savings from existing drug prices in Europe deployed back to the United States. All primary care drugs at US net prices or most favored nation prices available on Trump RX before the end of the year. And most importantly, all future drug launches across commercial, Medicaid, Medicare, and the cash markets at most favored nation prices going forward. Now, GLP-1s. So first, under this agreement, starting doses of oral GLP-1s will cost just $149 a month for everyone. That's roughly 1/8 the cost of the list price today. For Medicare, manufacturers are voluntarily reducing their prices for GLP-1s currently used for diabetes and other covered indications to $245 per month.
Mounjaro,
all
Trulicity.
doses. The
Ozempic.
savings generated from this change in prices will be used to provide new coverage to obesity and those who struggle with obesity and also have high metabolic or cardiovascular risk. Again, all for the same $245 a month. That means Americans struggling with diabetes and obesity, with heart disease or other chronic conditions can access these life-changing drugs more affordably. Medicare patients, importantly, will only pay $50 a month for a copay. This is a massive reduction from what happens today.
Wow.
For Medicaid, Novo and Lilly have agreed to extend the same new low government pricing to all 50 state Medicaid programs should they opt in. And we encourage them to opt in. And these will be available not just for diabetes and current covered indications, but also for obesity again. And in case you're getting tired of me saying it, at the same price of $245 a month, all covered doses. On Trump RX, the average price of injectables and orals will start at $350 on average. That's compared to roughly $500 today. And that will trend down to, you guessed it, the same $245 a month over the next 24 months. That is 1/5 of the list price. It is 1/2 of the best price in the United States today. We're hoping, Mr. President, that your friend who has to travel to England to afford these drugs will no longer need to do so and can come and do it in the United States. I'll also just mention that the $149 is $1 less than what you asked us to achieve. Just gonna make sure that's clear. So I want to highlight two other really important points that make me love this deal so very much. First, this isn't about spending more, it's about spending smarter. The savings from the diabetes drug price reductions are being used in a cost-neutral way to fund the new indications for taxpayers. That's amazing. And that happens inside of that same 24-month period. It's cost neutral. We're spending the money more wisely. But second, this isn't just about lower drug prices for Americans, though it does do that. But together with physical activity, with healthy eating and diet, and where appropriate, the use of breakthrough GLP-1s, the real return on investment is healthier Americans, lower chronic disease, lower costs, we estimate by tens of billions of dollars a year, and most importantly, higher productivity. Today is about freeing Americans from the weight, literally and figuratively, that holds us back. It's about unlocking the potential of every citizen to live fully, to contribute fully, and to find joy in their health. We cannot reach our full potential as a nation if we do not reach our full potential as individuals. And we cannot reach our full potential as individuals if we are not healthy. Thanks to Nova and Lilly for showing up so constructively over the last several months to make this possible. In particular, thanks to you, Mr. President, for again demonstrating that you fight for every American, this time for potential. It's now my sincere pleasure to first introduce Dave Ricks from Lilly and then Mike Dusto from Nova.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Listen up, because this should have
It's truly
specifics
an honor to be here
on
today
pricing.
for this historic step forward to expand access to a class of medications that can fundamentally change the arc of chronic disease in our country. Of course, these are the incretin or GLP-1 agonist that we've been speaking about. For nearly 150 years, my company, Eli Lilly, has been investing in America. We've been advancing science and creating high-value jobs. But today, are you okay? Gordon, you okay?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Lord be with this guy. Lord be with this guy. God be with him. My goodness. Lord be in that room. Give healing to that man. I hope that this just the standing got to that guy. I don't know who that was. Maybe somebody in the chat can help me with that. Hopefully that was just the moment getting to somebody. Good Lord, be with that gentleman. So wow, that's sort of a hard one to recover for. But if you're a praying person, definitely put in your prayers that gentleman who just seemed to have lost consciousness there. It feels sort of crass to talk about anything else at this moment. So this is an overwhelming moment. Not just what just happened, but I find myself incredibly overwhelmed that the people in that room understood the assignment. We've seen so much when it comes to the coverage of these medications. We have seen so much nonsense from the Congressional Budget Office, from different industry organizations. But I specifically think of the Congressional Budget Office, who has basically made it seem like these medications were going to bankrupt the healthcare system. What I've been saying for 3 years at On the Pen is these medications have the ability, if done properly, to save the American medical system, to save the American medical system. And I believe that the folks in this room today are people who understood that. Even people who are maybe going against some things that they have said previously, because I believed from the get-go, if we get smart people in a room to understand the benefit of these medications, to understand the cardiometabolic implications of people with chronic disease getting treatment, that we would see an absolutely amazing turn of events in health in this country. And this impacts everyone. So this is amazing. I found myself getting emotional multiple times, and though it seems crass to move on from whatever's happening with that gentleman there in the Oval Office, we pray that God would be with him, that God would just heal and be with that situation. Would you just move in that room with the people? If Father, if he's having a heart attack, Father, there would be somebody nearby. I know he's surrounded by medical professionals that can give him the attention that he needs, and we just pray for total, complete healing, God. But we find ourselves at this moment that is just a profound shift. When we talk about these medications having the ability to fundamentally transform the American healthcare system, there was a line in there. I don't know if you folks caught it, but there is a line in this that I believe came from Dr. Oz. Perhaps it came from RFK Jr. about we can't be a wealthy country and be unhealthy. And they understand that these medications have the ability to fundamentally transform everything when it comes to the health of this country, and hopefully save the American medical healthcare system. A few things that I want to just jump in, because we actually did get correspondence from Eli Lilly last night, and have some information that's under embargo until this press briefing took place. And I just want to share with you, because I think I probably have what Dave Ricks was about to share with you in the form of this press briefing here. So today marks a pivotal moment in U.S. healthcare policy and a defining milestone for Lilly, made possible through collaboration with the Trump administration as we expand access to obesity treatments for more Americans and advance one of the most innovative obesity pipelines. We remain focused on improving outcomes, strengthening the U.S. healthcare system, and contributing to the health of our nation for generations to come. This is a quote from Dave Ricks. This agreement adds to our established commitment to affordability, from the biggest being the first company to cap insulin prices at $35 to launching Lilly Direct, an end-to-end digital healthcare experience. So here's the nitty-gritty, and here's the part to listen up to. Starting as early as April 1st, 2026. So here's a date, all right? Context, we heard a lot of like political posturing there, but here's the nitty-gritty, okay? Starting as early as April 1st, 2026, Medicare beneficiaries will pay no more than $50 a month for Zepbound. Let me say that again so you can all get your tweets ready and your TikToks ready. Starting as early as April 1st, 2026, Medicare beneficiaries will pay no more than $50 a month for Zepbound, available in a multi-dose pen. A multi-dose pen. That's another big breaking news piece. To date, Zepbound is available in 4 monthly pens, or it's available in single-use vials. For Medicare patients, beneficiaries will pay no more than $50 a month for Zepbound, available in a multi-dose pen. And for orforglipron, Lilly's convenient once-daily obesity pill, provided both receive approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. I think when they say provided both receive approval, I imagine they're talking about the multi-dose pen for Zepbound and orforglipron. They will also, provided both receive approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, so this is Medicaid, will also have the ability to expand access to Zepbound and orforglipron through Medicaid. Lilly applied, this is another breaking news piece, Lilly applied for the commissioner's national priority voucher for orforglipron, which could potentially accelerate the U.S. FDA approval. Now, we've been surmising for some time here On the Pen that Lilly may have had this as part of the discussions, that they could get that 1 to 2 month approval that was announced by the commissioner of the FDA a couple of months ago. They have applied for that for orforglipron, and we know that we got that phase 3 data a few weeks ago. If that all falls in the timeline, you could see orforglipron approved by the first month of 2026. So if orforglipron is approved, it will be available for Medicare and Medicaid. For Medicare beneficiaries, they will pay no more than $50 a month for Zepbound or orforglipron. Moving on with, I think this was probably part of what Dave Ricks was going to communicate. Upon FDA approval, self-pay patients living with obesity will be able to access these medicines through Lilly Direct's self-pay pharmacy channel. So we've been talking about how there's 2 buckets here to consider. We're talking about Medicare and Medicaid beneficiaries, because prior to today, obesity medications were not allowed to be covered by Medicare. That all changes today, starting April 1st, 2026. So the second bucket we're talking about is for folks who are going the cash pay option through Lilly Direct. Now, some people have said, is this just for Trump RX or is it through Lilly Direct? Ultimately, all of these deals that are made are through each pharmaceutical company's direct-to-consumer channel. So in Lilly's case, that's Lilly Direct. In Novo's case, that'll be NovoCare. Trump RX is just a price list where you can go find all of the drug manufacturers and all of the drugs they've agreed to provide to at most favored nations pricing. So this price, the second bucket that we're talking about, is the self-pay, cash pay patients who are using Lilly Direct. That's where your drugs will come from. It doesn't come from Trump. It doesn't come from Trump RX. It's just a very Trumpy name for a price list that the White House will put out to help you navigate where you can find cheaper cash pay drugs. So this is the nitty gritty on Zepbound. Zepbound multi-dose pen will be available at the lowest dose. Breaking news here. This is the part of the stream to highlight. Zepbound multi-dose pen will be available at the lowest dose through Lilly Direct at $299, with additional doses up to $449, representing a 50% discount to current direct-to-patient prices and priced similar to what is available in Europe. When patients refill their multi-dose pen prescription on Lilly Direct through the digital health platform, they will pay no more than $449. Now, I want to pause right here, because this is where still, even with Lilly's statement and the administration statement, we have to read between the lines a little bit. But in Trump's opening remark, he said the average cost of Zepbound will go to $346. So my understanding, based upon what Lilly shared here and what Trump shared in his opening, is that they'll start at $299 for the starting dose of 2.5, and they'll work up in cost to $449 for the 15 milligram dose, if that makes sense. I'm reading between the lines a little bit here, but I don't think it will be $299 and then just $449, because the average price, as Trump said at the beginning, would be $346. So I imagine the prices will tier up, but I could be completely wrong about that. It could be just the way that things are worded are a little convoluted in terms of figuring out how the price goes. But if it is just $449, that is a $50 discount over the current cash pay price, a $50 discount on the $299 for the starting dose, which was at $349 prior to. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. All comes out in the wash. It's going to be an either proposition. It's going to be either $449 for 5 milligrams and above, or it will tier up to $449 for the top dose. We don't know exactly, based upon the wording and what the administration said. When patients refill their multi-dose prescription at Lilly Direct, they will pay no more than $449. When I read that the requirement to refill within 45 days is gone. Do you read the same thing? Because with Zepbound vials, if you don't refill within 45 days, your price goes up to the list price of like $1,100. So it seems to me like that's gone. Orforglipron will be available with the lowest dose starting at $149. So when we talk about orforglipron and when it gets approved, the lowest dose will be $149 for that starting dose of orforglipron, and it will tier up, I believe they said, to a top of $250, but that's not in my Lilly notes. It just says the lowest dose starting at $149. Now, Emgality, Trulicity, Mounjaro will all be added to Lilly Direct. Emgality Trulicity, and Manjaro will all be added to Lilly Direct and made available for self-pay patients with pricing at 50 to 60% off the current list price. So you're going to see the list price for their diabetes medications come down 50 to 60% and offered through Lilly Direct. Lilly will also continue to offer insulin at no more than $35 a month out of pocket, whether a person has commercial insurance or no insurance. And I'm going to go ahead and read a few more things here from Lilly. The U.S. healthcare system has evolved in a way that's unfair to American patients and taxpayers who disproportionately pay a higher share of the cost for developing breakthrough medications compared to other countries. Lilly is in a unique position to work with the U.S. government to rebalance the global system, expand access, and lower costs for Americans, while also protecting our company's ability to both innovate and enhance manufacturing capacity to meet the significant demand for our life-saving medications. I'm gonna end it there because everything else here is information about the medications themselves and things to be aware of. Make sure you always consult with a physician and check out lilly.com to learn more about these medications and the side effects, etc. But it sounds like today, to recap what we learned from the call. So I just read you what Lilly sent me. I will be participating this afternoon in a closed press conference with Dave Ricks himself. So if you have questions that you have, please email them to david@onthepin.com. If I get a chance to ask a question of Mr. Ricks, I certainly will do that. That will happen later on this afternoon. But here's what we learned on the call. This is confusing because the pricing tiers up, and it's not like real simple to say it was this, now it's this cost. But what we learned from Trump himself was that the list price of Zepbound was around $1,080. The average price of Zepbound will now be $346. That's cash for cash pay patients, right? So that's what leads me to believe that it tiers up in price from $299 to $449, not just goes from $299 and then all doses at $449. If the average price is $346, that would lead me to believe that it prices tiers up. Wegovy is now offered at $1,350. That will be offered at $250. So all that's to me sounds like an all doses of Wegovy thing. If all doses of Wegovy go to $250, that would be amazing. I don't have any information from Novo Nordisk. Novo, if you're listening, please include us on your embargoed information so that we can be a vessel to share this out accurately as it comes out, as thousands and thousands of patients on these medications rely on us for the news. But $250 for Wegovy, which to me, we've been saying this for a while, that this happens to be where we believe this drug ought to be priced, is in that $250 range. The starting doses of oral, that would include oral Wegovy that's coming out and orforglipron starting doses at $149. And then all these drugs would be made available ultimately. So that's what we have. If you have questions for me, you can drop them in the comments, but I have about as much information as you do now because I read you the information that I have from Eli Lilly. If that's beneficial, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. That helps to support the work that we do here at On the Pin. We bring patient-centric obesity medicine news from the patient perspective to you so that you can have more competent and confident conversations with your medical providing team. I want to say briefly as well that we could not do this here without the folks that allow us to do this full time. So visit otplinks.com for exclusive savings on all of our folks who have different things that can support you in your obesity management journey. But this, my friends, is a huge day for accessibility, a huge day with the big headline for me being that Medicare coverage has expanded to offer obesity medications as of as early as April of 2026. And the BMI of 27 with comorbidity seems to be where they're at in terms of qualification, and that you will pay $50 for Zepbound if you are on Medicare. I can't, of all the things that happened today, this part of it means the most to this community. There are so many tens of thousands of you who have been dying for this. Literally, this is such good news, and it feels so good to bring good news to you today. Something Beautiful wants to know: is Medicaid offering these drugs free? Medicaid will have the ability to offer these at the prices that Medicare has negotiated this. All 50 states will have these available. I believe they said $245, but I could be wrong. What Medicaid plans in each state will end up offering for these drugs is different, but certainly the lowering of the cost is a major benefit for Medicaid. So that's huge. And then also there's always the cash pay options, which we have now. And we know that orforglipron, especially for maintenance or people requiring less treatment than maybe an injectable, $149 for the starting dose and $149 for Wegovy as well. Let's see here. Do you have an approximate time you are going live next? I don't. We will go live probably as soon as the presser is over later. I don't know if that's something that we can share here on the pen. I should probably get clarity on that. If we can, I'll bring it live at about 1 p.m. Eastern, which is about an hour from now. So that's when that takes place. So would this mean that more states, Medicaid could start offering 100% coverage like the 17 states that do, like Michigan? Absolutely. That does mean that and could very well mean that for many people. Medicaid wouldn't give me Mounjaro, but I have to try Trulicity. Picked it up yesterday. Hopefully if Trulicity doesn't treat you well, maybe you can bump up to Mounjaro. Retatrutide is not released yet. Wait on the safety and efficacy trials. Don't get random research grade meds from shady locations, which is excellent information from Nat. So compounded still wins. $50 is nothing. What the heck? Yay for Medicare though. That affects tens of millions of people. So the $50 off is something. It's not nothing. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. Dave, will you be going on after you catch the call with Lily? Yes, I will. Are the branded Zepbound vials going to be reduced in price? The branded Zepbound vials are going to go from $299 or $349 for 2.5 milligrams down to $299. They're going to also be available pending approval by the FDA in a multi-dose pen, which is a huge deal. And y'all know like what the implications are of that, right? The Mounjaro pen that they have over in the UK, that's the same pen that will be used for Zepbound. If you've seen the videos on that, I even have one in my shorts here over on YouTube. Sounded awkward in my short videos, not in my shorts, literally. Let's see here. Yeah, I think there'll be a combination of the vials and the pens. The pens that are pending approval. Now, we don't know when Lilly will be starting to offer these prices. I don't believe there was anything about the timeline on the new pricing for Lilly Direct in here. And of course, we didn't get the chance to hear from Mr. Ricks on that because we were interrupted by somebody who had a medical event, unfortunately, in the middle of his speech there. So just a wild morning. The multi-dose pen will be available at the lowest dose at $299 with additional doses up to $449. Yeah, I do believe that they'll tier up in price. So it's $50 off of the 2.5 milligram, $50 off the 15 milligram. I don't know what that's going to equate to in the middle doses though. So yeah, well, I have the amount of information that you have. And I believe I've shared all of it, and I've got a busy day ahead of me and then a funeral to get out of town for this afternoon. So we will cover the press briefing with Mr. Ricks later on. If we get any more information from the Lilly team, we will bring it to you on, how about we bring it to you on Substack? So the best way that we can, we'll bring things to you on Substack. That way we can get them out to you via email. So the easiest way to do that is type into your browser obesity.news and just put your email address in there. Obesity.news, put your email address in there. We will give you an update as this stuff goes on. If we go live again, we'll put it out on our Substack and let you know so that you can get that notification. Wow. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do here at On the Pen. What a day. Our prayers and our thoughts go out to the gentleman who had the medical event at the press conference that we waited so long to hear from. But great news today to recap. Medicare and Medicaid will be open to coverage for obesity medicine. If you're a Medicare beneficiary starting in April, as early as April of next year, you may qualify to get Zepbound for $50 a month. Amazing. And then the prices for Lilly Direct stuff is going down as well. So Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the best part of what we do. And we'll be back with you. Go to obesity.news, put your email address in right now so that you can get updates when we get that presser from Lily, and send any questions that you have that you may like to ask Dave Ricks to dave@onthepen.com. And that would be the best way to get that to me. And I appreciate all you being here with me today. Thank you for being the best part of what we do. We'll catch you on the next one.